Hello, dear community. Latvian startups. What do you know about them? I have to be honest, I don't know a lot about Latvian startups. Fortunately, I'm here with Petr Antropov, the CRO of Lokalise, and Eva R. She is principal at Capital300, but she's actually Latvian. So I have two experts on the Latvian ecosystem. And also, Eva gave Petr some money. But before we talk about the investment, let's first let Petr pitch about what is Lokalise actually about. What are you doing?
Lokalise is a B2B SaaS. So it helps companies to structure and automate a particular business process. The process is called translation localization, where we serve as a technological layer between different people involved. And those people are typically copywriters, translators on one end, and managers, software developers, product marketing people on the other end. And it could be your company's own internal translators, it could be freelancers, crowdsourced translators. However, our main advantage is we serve as a single source of truth. So a company would be keeping all translations inside our environment. And second, we provide different kind of integrations with either their software, websites, mobile apps, standalone, Internet of Things, also like with different kind of marketing materials, legal stuff, and also dynamic content such as support tickets and like sales conversations in a chat or something.
So in a one-liner, you actually help companies to internationalize faster, right? That's the one-liner actually.
Exactly. So like four main advantages. One is like short time to market. This is faster localization, and one of our customers, whom we have like 1,500, Revolut, says that instead of 2 years to localize into 7 languages, it took only 6 months. So like for them, it was very important. Other advantages include saving like costs and resources, like getting rid of all errors. And eventually it also takes away all kind of frustrations in the team, where people are not longer involved in very boring copy pasting from Excel spreadsheets to the code back and forth and sending this between translators. But it's like a very intelligent and value-added process where they can focus on something very creative and spend as little time as possible and do as much as possible.
So Eva, you invested together with several partners into Lokalise. So what actually happened there? Who invested, how much, and why?
Okay, yeah, so now in August 2020, after following Lokalise for, I think, almost 2 years or a bit more than 2 years, we finally partnered up in a Series A round, which was $6 million. We invested in a strong consortium together with a UK-based investor, Mike Shelton, who is one of the most successful and experienced B2B software investors. His portfolio companies include several unicorns. And also the round was joined by some very prominent angels that are founders also at the same time. For example, the founder of Miro, the founder of Atlassian. And yeah, and why we invested, of course, there are several reasons. First of all, we really believe in the team. As we got to know them 3 years ago, we have been staying in touch with Peter and with Nick and the team. And the ambition that they have to really build the category leader, to build the solution that actually defines the category in this space is very attractive. And I also saw them, how eager they are to always learn from best practices, asking around, working with advisors, with other founders. So always eager to do things better and learn. So this is a very important characteristic that we also look into the founders. Then, of course, Peter just described the product, but we really believe that this will be the default platform, how companies localize the digital content. We had the chance to talk with several customers, and they really love the product. So, and then we were a bit concerned, okay, what does happen now as the COVID-19 kicks in? And we asked, so is this something that you might probably discontinue? And the answer was a very clear no. This is a lifesaver. We cannot live without Lokalise. And then, you know, the advantages that they mentioned is also what Peter said. So the efficiency and the quality, this is just something they, you know, are not ready to give up anymore. And then, I mean, thinking about the market, almost every company is or will be also internet business at some point of time. And then, as Peter said, so up until now, most companies use Excel sheets, and that just ended up being an error-prone process. And, you know, I think everybody struggled with the process. And then the fact that you can really just automate and push the updates and the new content automatically into the code, this is very, very strong. And yeah, and also the strong consortium. So together with Mike and also the founders, we have a pool of people that believe in Lokalise and are very, you know, eager to support them now on into the global expansion, going also more overseas. So we are just very excited to be part of this story, building a category leader into the localization space.
So how did you find them actually? Did you just walk into Latvia and say, I'm looking for a startup?
Well, not like that, but so of course I have been following the ecosystem in the Baltics, and I'm reading also the local media there. And I remember, I think it was a bit more than 2 years ago, I read an article about companies in Latvia, and there I saw Lokalise, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. And they have the roots in Latvia. So I reached out, I think, to Petro or LinkedIn, and then we had a chat. And back then they were more like in the seed stage, having the first revenue and thinking about getting on a seed capital. And we had a chat, and then I mean, it was too early for us in terms of the seed stage, but all of our team back then, when I shared it, got excited about the product and the early traction they had. And then when I was visiting Latvia next time, I also had the chance to meet the guys in person, and we basically stayed in touch. Interestingly, they actually skipped the seed round because they started to generate that much cash, and we had a very strong cash position that they in the end didn't need the seed capital, which is of course attractive as well.
Yeah,
it is attractive as well. And the guys have been very thoughtful about taking capital. They always said we do that only when we know how to really use it efficiently. And this is something, you know, that also, you know, we respect it, and that is attractive. And we stayed in touch and helped where possible in order to be there when the time is right, which was now this year. I don't know, Peter, how you saw it on your side, but that's how I remember the past getting together.
I would say that back 2 years ago, we were not the right company for ever to invest. So we were more like profitable, healthy lifestyle business with some local ambition. We could be also explained by the stage of the local ecosystem, where, you know, like even in Estonia, people in TransferWise are quite happy being a unicorn. And then some people, some founders in the US, being much bigger than TransferWise, are looking at Facebook and are not that happy. So it's a question of having like the right horizon. So like 2 years ago, we were like enjoying ourselves, doing barbecues. And about 1 year ago, we started to think whether we could do anything better and bigger. And this is when our conversations with VCs became more intense. And we ended up with Eva, who was actually one of the first VCs we were talking to.
And how long does it actually take you to become cash flow positive? Because this is really great.
It's a nice element side effect of B2B SaaS. This is like your customers, they vote with their money, and you can charge like annual and multi-annual contracts for, and then you have this advance money. And since like the product was an internal one first, so it was serving our needs in a previous project. it didn't take us much to develop it, and also to let it launched on the market. And once we see traction, we started focusing on this. And in a few months, we introduced annual contracts, and that was the moment when we became cash flow positive, and been cash flow positive since then, even now.
Cool. And now you a bit have the pressure to grow, right?
This is, I would not say it's our external pressure. This is like our internal wish.
Needs
So
to.
yeah, we kind of look at the market, and we believe there should be something happening in translation localization. The stance of it, it's like it reminds us client relationship before Salesforce, when companies were not tracking their customers. You know, like when we are calling some service, and then they will be asking, "Who are you? What is your history with us? Like what you've done before." So this is exactly what's happening in localization translation right now, still. So it's kind of a stone age. And so our challenge is to wait till the moment when it changes. However, we can hopefully bring this moment closer to today and become this pusher for the category.
But actually, industries which are in the Stone Age are the best ones to disrupt, right?
Absolutely. So like.
Actually, Petr, you're also part of the Latvian Startup Association, and Eva, well, you have the Austrian and Latvian view on the Latvian startup scene. So how do you guys, what can you tell us about the Latvian startup scene? How's it going compared to Austria also?
I was saying it's like it has a very good potential, meaning that we are a little behind our neighbors in Estonia and Lithuania. So far there were no unicorns here. I hope to see some in the nearest future. And this is when something would be changing the way it changed in Estonia, with Estonia now having five unicorns for this small country out of a total of 600 in the world, which is disproportional to the population.
I think they are. I think the country with the most startups per capita, or something like that, right?
And also the most unicorns per capita.
So yeah, I mean, it's if you don't have a lot of inhabitants, it's actually also easy to reach that. But
there are like two consequences of this fact. One is like everybody is very excited about startups, so they've seen nice exits, they've seen good stories, and this is like youngsters and like graduates and bright people are looking to join startups instead of joining like old-fashioned old economy corporates. And and the other fact is like they're very well educated in startup environments, so they're experienced, they know this as like sales processes, marketing processes, and so they're pretty advanced.
how's it with the government support? Because like Estonia, they also actually put a strong focus on e-government. And how is it in Latvia? Is that actually present or not as well?
It's very tiny. So there's a somehow the government it competes with the local startup association in distributing European money, which is it creates some like Dutch effect where youngsters they prefer to do pitches instead of building something feasible. So this is what I don't like. However, like even in Estonia, this governmental involvement was not critical to the success. That was like Skype, a private company, and their founders who ended up like founding their employees, early employees or late employees, who ended up building nice new businesses. So this is like top-down approach when like government is pushing people to do startups. So this is kind of very strange to me. This is like you should care about your customers and not how you'll be pitching and reporting to the government.
If do you see similarities to Austria? Or?
Well, yeah, I think both countries have actually, a lot of support programs, and of course that comes with the fact that founders invest quite some time, to deal with those. I think it's okay to have those because I think the purpose of those is to cover and help where there is a market gap. So for things where normal, like let's say private investors wouldn't invest, and like if that's focusing then really on deep tech and R&D, where like institutional investors would say, look, no idea whether the prototype will work in the end. I think that's good that the government comes into the play there. I think there the Latvia is quite similar to Austria, because my impression is that the most companies I see are focusing really on deep tech products, and sometimes they neglect the customers and customer development. So I have met a couple of founders or several founders that have built amazing tech and have patents and everything, but the question, how big is the market for your customers, there are hardly any answers. And I think that's something that is just, the market still needs to be educated. What Peter said, caring about the customers, not forgetting that this in the end is also a fundamental thing of building a business. So this is something that would help the ecosystem a lot. And in general, of course, there are more and more founders in Latvia as well. I wish there would be more that actually build products for the global market, because many or most that I have seen, they have a very regional focus. So they would build something for the Latvian market, and then maybe eventually for the Estonian, Lithuanian, which is nice. And it's okay. Of course, we need also those small businesses, but then, it's way less interesting for investors. And I think that I see their parallels also with the Austrian ecosystem. Yeah,
So,
but definitely there is a potential, and I think what in the end, to create this snowball effect, we need to see a few successful companies where we have people that have grown with the company, that have experienced this growth and international expansion, and those people have then the skills, the network, and the experience to either then join or or also establish the next companies.
and then reinvest probably again, and
Exactly,
many
exactly.
ex-founders actually become investors then. So
yeah, and not just the founders, but also the employees. And I think in the end, if it's a really successful global company, I think there are hundreds of people that generate enough cash that they can fuel the ecosystem further, and mostly they also want to do that. And I think that's something we need both in Austria and in Latvia.
So that actually brings me to my two final questions. First one to Peter. Now that you are a successful company with huge money on your bank account, what are your next steps in order to grow and let things grow?
Yeah, we raise money to hire great people from all over the world, since we're a remote company.
Mm-hmm.
And like another reason to raise is to have a clear story for new hires, and this is like VC validation. We are not B2C company, so it's not kind of obvious we are a success, and we need this extra validation with like great VCs, experienced in like raising unicorns, and also like angel investors who are founders of successful unicorns already, who are backing us up. And this provides a clear picture for new hires that they can be a part of this rocket ship. And right now we're at very nice stage where we are like a little more than 3 years old. We have very healthy growth of like more than 2.5 times a year, but we would like to accelerate more. And anybody joining us would be benefiting from greatest opportunities, I think, which would not necessarily be there in like several years, and which were not clear like some time ago.
So when you say you hire globally, that means that like people who are now living in Austria can also apply and work remote?
Absolutely.
That's
and we
cool.
have a few candidates from Austria already.
Oh, okay. That would be exciting to hear from that. Okay, that's really cool, because I mean, in times like these, being a remote first company is a good idea after all, and you can just go the next step and be a remote and international first company. And who, if not you, who's focused on internationalization in the DNA? Or we can say it's in your DNA.
And this is like where we're lucky, being from a small country and where we don't have much more options. You know, like in B2B SaaS, we're the biggest here, and we cannot learn from anybody. We need to go.
You're forced to internationalize. That's true. Eva, you gave us a bit of a glimpse of like what are your views on the Austrian startup scene as well, and well also internationally. Like, what are you looking for next? Like, which startups, which industries are interesting for you in Capital 300?
I mean, in the end, it's always about the opportunity as such. So we are, as a fund, an industry agnostic fund. So we look at both B2B and B2C opportunities. But what we want to see and have to see is an ambitious team and a company that has the potential to become a global player, a global successful player. But maybe yes, some industries that we are spending quite some time now on is, for example, we are looking at the low code and no code business process automation space. We are always excited to see companies that use machine learning to address vertical and build vertical application, and we are especially excited if they also know and how to actually scale such a company, because that can be challenging in the space. We have also looked at several cybersecurity companies, and we keep doing that as well. Something that I am at the moment very excited about is not just the collaboration tools, and I think every other VC fund looks into that, but I also see a big opportunity looking and partnering up with the companies that actually enable companies to actually work and hire people remotely. So there are a couple of players, that are of course now growing very fast, where they help companies like Lokalise and others to really manage those remote employees, pay them salaries, take care of the legal compliance, because it is a huge pain, and it is a very inefficient and expensive process. So opportunities like that is something where we also spend at the moment quite some time.
That's cool, because you're going with the times.
We have to, of course,
And
we have to, and we are excited to do that.
Obviously. It's been really great talking to you. Thank you for the insights into your companies, your investment, and also the Latvian startup scene. I think this has been really a very enriching